complaints have merit before proceeding. Bernard got national attention after performing an abortion on the 10-year-old rape victim from Ohio this year, who traveled to Indiana due to a fetal heartbeat law in effect in Ohio. That law has since been temporarily blocked.
Fox's Jessica Rosenthal and the Houston Astros take a 3-2 lead in the World Series after beating the Philadelphia Phillies 3-2 in Game 5. America's listening to Fox News.
Kona Brewing Company Master Ledward Ka'apana. Ledward Ka'apana, founding member of the legendary Hawaiian music group Hui Ohana, joined Grammy-nominated and multiple Nahoku Hanohano Award winner Ledward Ka'apana. Key Master Ledward Ka'apana, live on Guam, Saturday, November 12th and Sunday, November 13th.
Presented by Kona Brewing Company, Wenti Vineyards, and First Hawaiian Bank. Special thanks to Choice Broadcasting, The Point, Star 101, and Boss Star 101 and Boss 104.
Husband Adam last month at her home near Buffalo. Kira Benefield's statement to police in the court records reveals that she feared for her life. Days later, Adam Benefield was charged with third-degree assault and other misdemeanors that under New York law required him to be released without having to post bail. While free, cops say he shot and killed his wife. The Erie County
Retail giant Walmart introduces a strategy for consumers to choose its stores over competitors this holiday season.
Grocery store chains and big box stores are using inflation fighting to get you in for your Thanksgiving shopping, and now Walmart is joining in. Walmart is calling its sale this year's Thanksgiving meal at last year's price. Walmart is promising a selection of the items people want at the price: freshly made pumpkin pie and ready-to-eat items. The retailer says it's been working with suppliers for months to ensure a strong supply for all the holiday mealtime essentials. Ginny Cosola, Fox News.
And I'm Carmen Roberts, and this is Fox News.
Half a day, I'm Senator Chris Dueñas. We've gone from a viral pandemic to a drug epidemic. It is time to stand up the multi-agency unified law enforcement group.
News. I am Chris Dueñas, and I approve this message.
Fear has no place in our government or community. Yet Tony and I hear from many who are being intimidated to support the current administration. Put our campaign sign in your yard or lose your job. Approve this message.
Choice Broadcasting introduces their unbeatable lineup of morning show. Hands down winners of Guam's morning radio battle. Daryl Lizama grooves his way through Boss 104 playing Guam's favorite classic hits. Morning Mouth Ray Gibson shakes the cage on 93.3 The
Tales with Bob Klitzkie. The only show on talk radio where common sense is a lot more common. Phone lines are now open at 888-TALK. That's 888-8255.
Firearms shall not be infringed. I start the show that way every day, as you know, because it would place the new listener on notice as to exactly what we talk about here on Tall Tales. We talk about firearms with you need some learning. And that's exactly what we're going to start with this afternoon. I start out with Zemi Ikotni, which is my backwards play on words. The daily newspapers criticize them, make suggestions, and having done that, award the better of the two, the coveted Blue Star. The Post doesn't do any editorials anymore, and the Daily News might as well brush your teeth before you go to bed. Don't take any wooden nickels.
Vote early, vote often? No.
Don't jaywalk. The election sees affiliations, viewpoints, or even ideas. While we encourage healthy debates and discussions, we urge all voters and residents to remember that the results that emerge from November 8 won't. I am not. Am I fighting so that Herman can marry Henry and pretend that it's a marriage?
Nope.
That a man can become a woman? No, I'm not fighting for any of those things. I'm fighting against them, and I'm not going to quit. Tall tales. And why we have elections. So don't come along with this soft soap, anaphemalic, let's all try to get along, like what was the guy's name that the LA Commission and support needed to accomplish goals and contribute to building a stronger Guam? There is much in store for Guam with post-pandemic recovery and a military buildup underway, with greatly depend on the leaders we choose today. Our candidates have spoken and presented to us various positions, options, and their plans for the future. The Daily News has brought you information needed to even respond to the questions in the Daily News. Election Day is just 4 days away, and for the past few weeks, thousands already have cast their ballots by taking advantage of the Election Commission's early voting opportunities. Well of something, use the words democratic and democracy. You know, when the Supreme Court overruled Roe versus Wade, it was a direct attack on democracy. They had a seminar on apathy at the university last week. Nobody showed up. Yeah, so that's Demi Cutney for today.
You know, Bob, if you read this op-ed...
First thing on the agenda is I got to finish up with the candidates because Tuesday, of course, is the election day, and I know you're all hanging on my last. Then we've got Rory versus the Port. We've got Anita Green versus Miss United States of America. Too bad that there aren't pictures with this one, right? Let's see here. Catling, Shelton, Duenas, San Nicolas, Lujan, and Fred Berdalio. So we're on election day. Is education, double major in world history and philosophy. Marquette University, Milwaukee. He went to Simon Sanchez High School in Maria. Yeah. He's been a teacher at J.P. Torres Alternative School. He has been an educator, and the first bill he's going to introduce is this: a local incentives package, a 4-day work week for GovGuam and the Guam Department of Education employees. That won't go. They'll fight you tooth to draw paychecks. That's what they're interested in. He's increased assistance and support for small businesses and increased threshold of eligibility for government assistance for retirees and those on full position to dictate to others what they can or cannot do with their bodies. Then what you need to do is you need to look up that 1905 case dealing with inoculations. And it should be different for women because everybody knows a woman has a right to control her own body, right? Yeah. So you blew it, Ian. You're pro-abortion. There's just no getting around it. Position.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think he's right. I agree with him. There has been no unbeatable positions. I am not omniscient. That's what you want to do. Next, we've got Amanda Shelton, who will be 32 on election day. She has a master's in public administration and a bachelor's in political science and communication. She's been a senator in the 35th and 36th legislature. She's been the legislative secretary, the chair of the Air Transportation, Parks, Tourism, Higher Education, Advancement of Women. I guess she doesn't want to pass any bills. Your stance on abortion? No response. Okay, you're pro-abortion. That's that. And we've got Chris, who's going to be 56 on election day, 1999. So in a prior life, Chris was a submariner. He had a submarine pilot's license. He was a senator in the 36th, 32nd, 31st. Not going to tell us about abortion, which is surprising because I think we all know.
And yeah, that's Amanda authored, I think, the heartbeat bill, and Chris was one of the co-sponsors, but silence.
Yeah. So he'll be 47 on election day. He has a certificate of basic law from GCC, a certificate of basic law. Not so good unless you're a priest. He's been Santa Claus. Yeah, I think he was in the movie Miracle on 34th Street. Was consumer grade fireworks with the proceeds to fund village mayors' efforts to beautify our island. Somehow, stance on abortion. We're all for life, but we must leave the decision to every woman to decide for herself. Absolutely no restriction on a woman's right today. JFK, 1973, political science at Grossmont College in El Cajon and San Diego State University. His occupation is candidate for the legislature, 95. Tarza Magic Adventure Zone Operations Matter, 1997. Senator in the 27th, 28th, 29th legislatures. That's 203 to 209. So he's not a member of the club. Let's see. He was a campaign chairman for the Gutierrez-Bordallo campaign, and he says he's a Republican. Doesn't quite fit. Law enforcement customs agencies have the resources and additional funding to specifically target the importation and dealing distribution of crystal meth. I want to ensure we have enough personnel on staff, etc. We need it. Then we've got Fred Bordallo. Fred's going to be 63 on the election day. He graduated Father Duenas in 1977, an associate's in criminal. He was in the Marine Corps from 78 to 85. That's a big plus. He was in Naval Reserves 1999 to 2006, Army Reserve, Public Service, Guam Humanities Council, YMLG, Westcare, Guam Police Volunteers Association, Mental Health Advisory Council, Guam Peace Council, and Customs and Quarantine Agency Law Enforcement Reserve Volunteer Recruitment Training Program. Well, that's an interesting idea. Provided that they have a rule, no centrally, their health care. I believe in the right of women to make their personal choice in matters involving their health in the context of reproductive health care choices. Therefore, women should have...
Check out the newest hydro and garden center to hit Guam. Crop King Hydro. Think Crop King Hydro. Crop King Hydro.
Reggae in Paradise. Let's vibe out to some of the hottest Irie vibes on all your playlists. Join the vibes on November 19th at Paseo Stadium. It's on a Saturday and we... And Rebel Sojas. Get your tickets now at guamtime.net. What are you waiting for? Presenting sponsors, big thanks to Rigo.
Bob Klitzkie, Guam's single voice of reason. Call now, 888-TALK. That's 888-8255.
Okay, next item, bells. This is what Alexander told us. A democracy cannot exist as a permanent form of government. It can only exist until the voters discover that they can vote themselves. Fiscal policy, always followed by a dictatorship. Does this sound kind of familiar? The average age of the world's greatest civilizations has been 200. Selfishness. From selfishness to apathy. From apathy to dependence. From dependence back to bondage. Sound right? To the point where it's very difficult now for people to take jobs. Why should they take a job if they can sit around and wait for the next dollop of government money? We have a governor who first time she more. So, once again, a democracy cannot exist as a permanent form of government. It can only exist until the voters discover they can vote themselves largesse from a government. I'll do the rest myself. Okay, next we go on to Troy versus GMH and Francis Santos. And Ken has an ORIN on this one. Candid News with a letter to Jeremiah Luther and Cindy Hansen. And here it goes. Hi, Jeremiah and Cindy. I have 2 questions. Is anyone at GM be a government of Guam employee? Good question. Now, this has risen above the law of gossips and rumor because it is the subject of a letter to a public official. That's why I'm putting it on the air. In fiscal 2020, collected $102 million in revenue, and 2 for the 11 months invoiced in fiscal 2022, collected $107 million, of which $3.4 million went to pay. Fiscal year 2020 collected $104 million. So you scrape the paint and varnish off this, and what do you do? May I please get responses to these? And then he goes on to the website goes on to say, Guam Memorial Hospitals are refusing to deny the involvement of the governor's top campaign official. The hospital collects after collecting $7.2 million a month. Doesn't matter who collected it. If the money goes into the hospital's bank account, the MedHealth gets 12% of all amounts, $3.4 million. And GMH Administrator Lillian Paris-Posadas has since renewed the contract for another year. But according to GMH's audited financials for fiscal 2020, which MedHealth now collects a 12% commission. How does GMH continue to justify MedHealth's contract? And why did GMH agree to set the monthly threshold at $7.2 million? 95 notes on the door, Jose. Neither official responded to the inquiry. Candid followed up yesterday with both officials and included Ms. Paris' contract. Is anyone at GMH who is involved in the administration of MedHealth aware of the involvement or former involvement of Francis Santos in the MedHealth contract? Candid asked. If so, was a waiver granted HA and are not employees of either GMHA or the government of Guam. Candid asked Mr. Santos about his alleged involvement. He has not responded. According to the CNMI, including the award of an emergency procurement to house several Guam Department of Health and Public Health and Social Services offices at his Rand Care building in Tamuning. Governor's re-election campaign. Just a coincidence, I'm sure. As previously reported, among the revenues included in the formula for MedHealth's cut of profits is the garnishment of tax refunds to GMH. Owes a hospital bill. When he files his income tax, if he's entitled to a tax refund, the director of Rev Tax will take that tax refund and apply it to the hospital bill. What is the hospital?
Nobody at print media or the other media stations here on Guam interested, curious, or even aware of this. This is almost frustrating.
It really is, and it's unfortunately all too typical. So if yeah, it's Ken LG. Go ahead, Ken.
Yes. Good. As the hospital has been over the years, how many bonds have been floated to pay operating expenses, of all things, that the Attorney General, or those on staff who are paid, but when they work, their offices bill the hospital for the services the doctor provides. You know, it's just all over the place as far as she said that under her administration, with her financial management skills and her knowledge of healthcare, that they would pick the best and brightest people. Well, everybody they picked in the top floor of that hospital, there's just something there that needs to be addressed. But who are we going to talk to? The Ethics Commission? You know, that group of friends of Lou that got appointed to a cushy job so they can take a trip to Montreal in a couple of weeks and change. Otherwise, this is just going to keep happening.
Absolutely, Ken. So what kind of change do you think we need?
Well, to begin with, we need to bring a receiver, a federal scene, an excavator. When the receiver brought in a mechanic to see what was wrong with solid waste excavator, it was a bad starter motor. So for $860, collusion and corruption out of Guam Memorial Hospital. And the only way that happens is if we get either...
Just dropped.
Petitioned the district court to appoint a receiver. So in order for that to happen at the hospital, a lawyer would have to roll up his sleeves and see if he could make that kind of a case to take to the national government. And I'm going to ask him what action we could expect from Senator Ken Leon Guerrero should the results turn out that way on Tuesday.
Where are the candidates right now on this issue?
Yeah, not interested.
You know,
come back, Ken. Glad you called back.
Yeah, I got bumped off the tower, I guess. But getting back to the question I heard you say on the radio, one of the things citizens to bring actions against the government, because if that law had passed, then this would have been an avenue where a citizen could have brought an action against Lillian Posadas directly. To do it. The Ethics Commission won't do it. So as a senator, one of the laws that I would introduce and pass would be the Corrupt Practices Act, which will put politicians and government management officials on notice that you can't break the law. Because if you break the law, some citizen is going to do the effect of a whistleblower, because right now, whistleblowers it's out doing work. You see, if I report that to the authorities under the Corrupt Practices Act, I can file an action direct. And Information Act at their own peril. Just imagine if I could file an action against Lillian Posadas and Governor Leon Guerrero and Attorney General Levin Camacho for signing a law that on this island. We're too small. We have too small of an economy to live with this level of corruption we see. We're not like Puerto Rico, because remember, the economy in Puerto Rico is 10 times bigger than the economy in Guam. Payments were cut by 25%. Healthcare benefits were cut by 50%. Those were the people that suffered from the corruption of the politicians. We have the same thing here now. They buy a car.
Hey, Ken, can we take a short break? I'll keep you on. We need to take a short commercial break, and we'll bring you back on to wrap up the first half, okay?
Glad to, Judge.
I'm Dr. Sam, like a part-time legislator that works for Guam and having more efficient GovGuam departments. Please support me with one of your votes for Senator to work for you on these issues. I'm Dr. Sam Abini Young.
Paid for by friends of Sam Abini Young, Gina Ramos Treasurer.
Come try Guam's original Chamorro restaurant at their Hagåtña and Grand Plaza Tumon location. Call their Hagåtña location at 479-2652 for reservations.
Okay, so here we are back on the air.
Push the entire... We don't have a middle class on Guam anymore. It has been broken. And now we have a population of people living from paycheck to paycheck. So if we go back contracts without using the procurement process to ensure that the people are getting the best deal for the money, that's corruption. When we have managers and executives within the government that do things, and I would focus on the little things, because it was so much easier to take a business that was struggling and return it to profitability if you fix the little things than it was to try to go out and rent little things. Within 7 months, we had turned it around to where they were on track to $1 million profit on 10 million sales. So we didn't raise the revenue. We kept the revenue the same, but by fixing all the broken years, we've gone from a $350 million budget to a $1.2 billion budget. Our population did not double. Our economy did not double. What happened? The government squeezed more and more money out of the people. The businesses are running without fear. And that's what we have here. We have a climate of fear that is so oppressive. You know, people come up to me all the time and talk about how they're afraid to support me publicly. I'm worried that we'll see the same thing happen in 2020, again, that we saw in 2020 when we had that, record low voter turnout. We saw a reflection of it in the primary now. I'm just hoping that we can look at how your life will be in 4 years if things keep happening the way they're happening, and then vote accordingly. That is how we change this ship of state away to go through a federal receiver saying, hey, we're going to right-size this government to match the revenue base.
Ken,
and you're not giving
I got to interrupt again. I really thank you for coming forward with this stuff, and I look...
The Point is KUSG, Hagåtña, Guam, 93.3 FM and 104.3 HD3.
Get out the vote. One of the issues he's focusing on, student loan forgiveness.
President Biden says in these inflationary times, up to $20,000 in relief from student loans can be a game changer for families. Life-changing. Republicans have availed themselves of it. Right now, an appeals court has put the program on hold, but people can still sign up. Gernal Scott, Fox News.
Former President Trump rallying voters yesterday in the firmly red state of Iowa.
And we're going to...
That he would announce his plans for the 2024 presidential election soon. Retailers expect holiday sales to slow this year.
The National Retail Federation expects holiday sales growth will slow to a range of 6 to 8%.
Gas is expensive, so let the bank come to you. Through our remote deposit capture, you can deposit your checks into your account from your phone. And with our Dynamite Bank Pacific Visa debit card, you can use your money anytime.
Original Chamorro restaurant with Pica's Best 5 years running. Mezcla Chamorro Fusion Bistro. Experience Chef Peter's candied salmon over scallion coconut rice. Octopus to Nectac. Chamorro platter. And their award-winning gourmet.
President Trump and the January 6th committee.
The committee investigating the January 6th attack on the Capitol has asked former President Trump to turn over important documents in response to a subpoena today. The committee voted unanimously.
It was Donald Trump.
That courtesy of the City Club of Cleveland. In Washington, Ryan Schmelz, Fox News.
Homeowner in Indiana dies after a gunfight with two home invaders. The Owen County Sheriff's Office, southwest of Indianapolis, says...
In a thriller, 3-2 the final score. And 3-2 is the series as it goes back to Houston.
The game on Fox, Game 6, Saturday night. Apple makes a move to become less dependent on China. Ride-hailing company Lyft and payments company Stripe both say they're letting workers go. And Amazon says it will freeze hiring for months. I'm Carmen Roberts, and this is Fox News.
Patrolling our streets. It is time to make Guam Maulik again.
Re-elect Senator Chris Dueñas. The fight continues.
I am Chris Dueñas, and I approve this message.
Are you looking for a new place to hang out with your bar and grill? Open daily from 3 p.m. to 2 a.m. See you there.
Just like you, Felix and I are outraged at the growing crime rate and lack of justice on Guam. We are outraged at the number of criminals arrested, released, and back on where possible, and harsh punishments for criminals. It's time for a new season.
I'm Felix Camacho.
I'm Tony Ada.
We approve this message.
So here we are. It is Tall Tales Friday. You've seen our Rogues Gallery. I just want to show you. Go to thepoint.gu. That's our website. Look for the beard, and you'll be able to buy a T-shirt just by looking at the beard. Do that. Take a selfie and WhatsApp it. You could be your face could be broadcast to our international radio listening audience. What a deal, right? So it is Friday, so it's time for the Lou Leon Guerrero.
Thoughts and comments regarding Bill 195-32. I am aware that there is already federal legislation that addresses the issue at hand, thus making this legislation unnecessary. As I read the bill, what then the experts in obstetrics, family practice, pediatrics, neonatology, and medicine. By way of this bill, you have taken away the discretion, the responsibility, the acumen of them in making their decisions. By way of this bill, you have said to our doctors, who are well respected and highly regarded in our community, we have no confidence in your ability. This bill not only affirms that doctor to have committed aggravated murder, and for that crime, we will put that doctor in jail for life. And by the way, they will rot in jail because you are that ignores medical expertise and puts not only our doctors, but also our nurses, medical assistants, our physician assistants, and any health professional present at that event, and we're putting this in their profession. I know and truly believe, Senators, that this is not the route you want to travel. This bill is very anti-quality of life because it does not consider is given for a year. That family or the government, if the infant becomes a ward of the territory, will at a minimum pay $273,000 a year just on hospital room charge, taking away limited resources that could be used by others that may have a better chance of a quality of life. I know that some will say you cannot put a price tag on life and money should not. You struggle daily to meet the challenges of healthcare costs. We saw that with the hospital and health insurance debates that you guys made. And now this bill, we are very concerned on how we can work together to provide more jobs because our job growth has been stagnant over the last 5 years. We are very concerned about access to health, how we can provide affordable housing to many first-time home owners. We are extremely concerned about the rising crimes we see today. People do not feel safe in their homes. This is on the rise. Sexual assault of minors and rape cases are on the rise. You have in your campaigns pledged to work on these issues. You were all voted to help address these concerns that have a greater impact to the quality of life of our people. I ask that when you are considering this bill to seriously consider the negative consequences of this piece of legislation, your due diligence, and I know that you will act in favor of the greater good of our community. And in so doing, you will arrive to the conclusion that this bill should not pass. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
That said that if a helpless, innocent baby survived the abortion process, doctors should do nothing to prolong the life of that baby, because he has a 1 in 3 chance of living another 25 years. But the surgery would cost $100,000, and every one of those years would cost another $20,000. So if the medical care would cost too much, we ain't going to do it for you.
And we have so many bigger issues on the island. Why should we care about this helpless, innocent human?
Exactly. We're going to build a brand new dangerous man in the room. That is our Carl. Is he out on a secret mission somewhere? Is that the reason he hasn't called Tall Tales? I wonder if he'll tell us about that secret. Well, he can't tell us about this.
There's a quote I remember from Mark, I think it was Mark Twain, that said, the rumors of my demise have been greatly exaggerated.
True.
So there's been rumors floating around out there, but I'm still...
Certainly.
They should be breaking down doors. I mean, they're basically turning away money, hand over fist.
Certainly every OBGYN on the island would be qualified to perform.
Consciously, I think people understand this is a repugnant act. I remember a video I saw of a doctor who was a long-time abortionist. I think he saw the baby was grasping for his hand or something like that. It just struck him that what he was doing.
Factor. You know, it's one thing to stand in front of a microphone and say, I believe in a woman's right to control her reproductive health. But it's something else to figuratively get your hands dirty and do it yourself. It seems to me as humans, we understand that we don't take the lives of other humans for no reason at all. Certainly not for a BS reason like this. It's impossible to separate our choice.
To having counselors talk to women who are considering killing an infant, and especially watching, a video, and so it's just it is amazing that we have reached this stage in our culture, the decay of our culture, that we have killed over 63 million. The experience of having a spontaneous abortion, and even that was very sad. But fortunately for us, it wasn't a foreign baby. You couldn't see us. Would have been devastating.
Yeah.
Anyway, Bob, I just wanted to toss in my 2 bits.
Well, we're glad you came out of the jungle, and I suspect the guys that you were battling inside the jungle on your secret mission are glad too. To the point, on topic, and then from there we'll go to, I think we'll go to the 7th inning stretch, and then we'll come back to Frenchie. Let's see. Good afternoon, R. Keith.
A live audio of a woman in Michigan having an abortion. For what purpose, I don't know, and it doesn't matter. I find that Citizens Free Press and a couple other locations.
So this happened on Thursday their time, just recently.
I just don't know. Just a couple of miscellaneous thoughts. By preventing abortions or restrictions on abortions somehow disproportionately affect women of color. So we're racist for not allowing them. I just wanted to share those 2 points. And I urge people, if there's ever been a reason, and there's been plenty, to defund NPR, I really urge people to.
Recording of an execution on this is public radio.
Yeah,
I'm just beside myself right now that they even did this.
Well, of course, the left wants to take all these crazy things that it's okay. So I suspect that's their aim. That just to normalize abortion. Let's head for Wrigley Field, Jose.
Choice Broadcasting introduces their unbeatable lineup of morning shows.
Years, we've got the shows that listeners have been tuning into for decades.
One call gets all three.
671-888-7346. That's 888-REIO.
Listen to The Point anytime, anywhere on Odyssey. Podcasts. Find it all on the Odyssey app. AUDACY.
Okay, here we are, Wrigley Field, Chicago, the world's most beautiful ballpark, and I've got
trying to give new meaning to what we know is something else. Yesterday, I was steaming out of my ears when I was listening to Brandon. We ended up paying with taxpayer money for over a year basically the whole population to do nothing during the pandemic. And since Biden came into government, more money that we did since the foundation of the rest amazing. And so now the value of that money has gone down because there is too much. And people fail to comprehend what inflation really is. We received $2 billion here on Guam, and Lou is trying to take credit for that. But Lou has an inept government, and it made me think about, you were talking earlier, totalitarianism. But ineptocracy is one of those things. There was a British economist, I forgot his name, in the 1990s that said that it is the system, labor stolen through taxes, in order to subsidize people that are incapable of doing anything. And this is exactly the definition of what we've seen during that pandemic, which that are totally inept. And this is what this election here on Tuesday will be about, is that because there is few people on the island that understand what it takes to run, they will be incapable to pay the debt that they generated by themselves in order to pay for people not to work. And that's the system which we are living in right now. We've basically been printing money, and the dollar has become the currency for international exchange. But now we have countries, China, Russia, the BRICS, basically India, Brazil, that no longer get money that is based on gold value. And that's something that is going to be terrible for us in the coming years, because we see in the economy that is bent on making a large part of the population subject to getting money from the government, which is a form of enslavement, and making them less susceptible to resist and to understand and to have a network to help them resist a big government. And that's exactly what we're, mostly we have brown people all over the place. And they are the first victim of those policies. And that's what people don't understand. And this is why it is important not to re-elect.
Okay, so let's see. I've got a couple of callers in the green room, and I'm coming up here pretty close to Churchill Downs. I've got Matt, who wants to support keeping NP. Matt, and then I'll come back to our Fred, and I've got somebody else who's trying to get into the game here too. So tell me about NPR and what's good about it, Matt.
Hey guys, during him over to my Thanksgiving, I would blow his mind with my new yam recipe. But I'm trying not to be partisan here, but I must say, in the spirit of the World Series, Kyle Schwarber radio available to the people benefits the people. I listen to your broadcast. I listen to NPR. I listen to all sorts of radio. To the idea of getting rid of one because you don't like the views of it, it doesn't make...
Doing that, don't we have private radio broadcasting stations in the country?
Well, the FCC sets a lot of rules, and what is the clause that created the Internet where the Internet provides...
NPR is the national government. So does the national government need to have its own private radio station to broadcast the views of the bureaucrats that run the national government? Can't we leave...
About how we receive information, and I just do not want to limit the platforms that are available.
Well, on Tall Tales, one of the strengths of Tall Tales is that I like to listen to our callers. Okay, and then next I've got our Fred, who wants to talk about the election of 2022, and then Sarah with a personal story on abortion.
I thought about this, and I think you've mentioned it before also, and it's really very simple who you're going to vote for. And it should be a personal decision, not influenced by, when you ask yourself that question, the answer comes to you who you want to vote for. Are we okay? Is the island good the way it is or not? And is it fine on Guam? Is education, our public school system, the kids are going to, is it fine? And that kind of makes you answer who you want to about you. It's about what are you going through? And because once politicians are elected, they forget who you are. It's yeah, you get a job or something maybe, and what's going on here? If you want a better island, I mean, are we happy with how Guam is at the moment? That'll answer your question. Who you want to vote for? Who are you going to vote for?
Yeah, I get your point.
That's all.
I can stretch it tall tale 6 furlongs, and I'll be crossing the finish line. But on the way to the finish line, I'm going to entertain Sarah, who wants to tell us a personal story on abortion.
Half a day, I'm Senator Chris Duenas. It is time to make Guam Maulik again.
Re-elect Senator Chris Duenas. The fight continues.
I am Chris Duenas, and I approve this message.
Come try Guam's original Chamorro restaurant with Pica's best 5 years at their Hagåtña and Grand Plaza Tumon location. Call their Hagåtña location at 479-2652 for reservations.
You know, Jose and I really dread the home stretch on Friday because it means no tall tales for 70 hours. Well, Saturday noon we start to Jones for tall tales, but some are so.
That's good. Okay, so my personal story about getting an abortion, maybe I think it was in the year 2011 or 12. I had just started dating somebody. We were pretty serious at the time. I started doing my research, and at the time there was a polyclinic up in EPA Road. I don't know if you remember that building.
Yeah.
Okay, and there's a gynecologist there. I'm not too sure if people know his name. I don't know. But the fact that he lost a lot of his customers because at the time, I think there was the Blue House scandal. Do you remember that?
I do.
That incident? Yes, where they shut down the massage parlors to do an investigation and all that. He had mentioned 1%, he said. And so when I was there, I heard the heartbeat. I really didn't want to do it, but I was like, okay, well, this partner, I don't know what's going to happen. I didn't get any counseling. My family didn't know. Drugged up, carried me into a resting room, and he said, you can leave when you're ready to go. And I'm like, okay. So there was no before counseling, like, are you sure you want to do this? Going through depression or whatever, go and talk to a counselor or go and seek these services, go talk to a spiritual person, whatever, right? And I thought that was very strange, but I ended up driving home a little woozy or whatever because, you know, there's no over. I ended up marrying the person, the person I was dating at the time, and we have more children. But I always look back to this day and I said, I wouldn't have done it if somebody told me not to, you know, like spiritual or not. But about 5 years after my abortion, I actually had a dream. And at this time, my grandpa just passed away. And so in my dream, it was all of my, you know, if you believe in that, but it was a really strange picture to me. And I woke up and I started crying. But, you know, if I had known what I know now about abortion, I probably would not. Ask me to this day, and we're a strong advocate of you know, against abortion now. But, you know, I just wanted to share that because when a clinic does that, it's really not actually, you know, either getting outside counseling, help from their family, or, you know, are there other options? Like, I guess at the time there weren't very many options. Nobody knew about it. Social media wasn't a big thing. There needs to be another option for those that really don't want to abort, but are kind of, you know, having outside forces making that decision for them. Just like, look, it's going to be hard on your life. So think about it.
It really sheds a lot of light on this really dirty, dirty business. It's a cash and carry business, and as you found out from personal experience, prostitution can't survive.
Can't financially support. But then there's the other side. Like, why are all these women getting aborted? What's keeping the business going? And it's like, yeah, prostitution. People in that business, you know, happy ending type situations, you know, and like.
And personal feelings, a doctor's, quote, bedside manner or lack thereof.
Right.
But do you agree with me that none of these things should be problems for an innocent?
Whether it be a spiritual counselor, people kind of dismiss the idea that, you know, you should probably get in touch with your spiritual side to see that kind of advice instead of always relying on family, because it's still something that we should care for as a community, you know, to provide that support for those who don't want to do it because they know that it's still a life. And so the community needs to give, or it's going to be a financial hardship. You know, life is hard. You know, everybody struggles.
Good points. Good points all, Sarah. And I think you've added something here to the dialogue. You are another Joe wants to talk about Rachel's Vineyard. Go ahead, another Joe. Rachel's Vineyard.
Okay, so Bob, Rachel's Vineyard, some information, some resources, and then they are planning a retreat, and they'll give you more information on that. And I just want to bring up the emphasis on a heartbeat, right? It's very, very in the October session, and this is November, and so now we won't know what they have planned for the November session until after the election. I just want to bring that up and say something to think about. And when you look at your resources, who you're going to vote for.
vineyardguam.org, O-R-G, and it's an organization that holds retreats and also keeps very discreet counseling and talks about with women and men who've.
Sarah said if someone, you know, that takes us back to our chemical abortion here, because our chemical abortion law says that before you get the chemical pills, you got to sit down and talk to somebody. Okay, so we'll see all you tailgaters on Monday, and now it's time for me to say, let's go, Brandon.
The Point is KUSG, Hagåtña, Guam, 93.3 FM and 104.3 HD3.
The final push. I'm Carmen Roberts. Fox.
He said Governor Michelle